Welcome to the Moonflower Show. Ah! Oh gosh.
Oh gosh, you scared me there.
Why did you scream like that,
Because
Colin?
it's spooky month. It's Halloween month, guys.
Happy Halloween times.
Yeah, it's October, bitches. You know what that means?
It means it's Halloween times.
Yeah,
and it also means that we're back at ya with another spooktacular episode
of the Moonflower Show.
Of the Moonflower Show.
The Gloomflower Show.
Once a year, the Moonflower Show turns into the Gloomflower Show.
The Doomflower.
The Doomflower. The Spoonflower.
That's real scary.
Yeah. Anyway, today we're going to be sharing with you some spooky stories from real life.
Mm-hmm. These are real events that happen to real people.
That we know and that are us.
Yeah, We're going to be counting some personal stories of ours. Excuse me. That we find spooky and to set the mood for the spooky time of year.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Without further ado, let's jump in. We're gonna share a bunch of stories. And I think we're going to kind of go back and forth.
Yeah, my stories, I don't know about you, but my stories are pretty short individually.
Mine are pretty short individually,
I don't know how
much
content's going to be on this episode.
Yeah.
But every time I've thought that so far, the episode ends up being actually quite long.
Yeah, and quite good.
So that it gives me hope.
Yes.
That this will be a good episode.
And we're going to be sharing some ghost-ish stories. Some, not spooky stories per se, but just some, weird stuff.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Basically anything that is spooky or spooky adjacent went on the list.
Yeah, so if you don't like that kind of stuff, you can tune out.
But
otherwise, turn your lights down low and maybe, light a candle. And, get yourself a little, spooky snack.
Ooh, yeah, spooky snack. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So why don't you start us off?
You want me to start us off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pardon.
It's okay. I will start us off with a story that my dad told me a while ago about when I was a baby. That something that he had experienced when I was a baby, and that I don't remember. But I was like a newborn baby, like a couple months old.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was in the house. It was the middle of the night, and he heard a noise that woke him up. So he kind of just looked around, got out of bed, and went down the hall to check on me while I was sleeping in the room. Make sure nothing had fallen over or anything. And there in the room, he saw a silhouette of a figure standing over me.
Oh my gosh.
Looking at me.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, and I'm not done.
Oh, okay.
The silhouette. My dad said that he saw the silhouette and at first he was scared, but he actually felt a benevolent presence from it for some reason. He didn't understand why, but he understood it not to be dangerous.
Interesting.
And the figure seemed to turn to him and give him a slow nod.
Uh-huh.
And
wow.
And then disappeared.
Wow. That's really scary.
Yeah, it's spooky.
Yeah, that's spooky. Wow. You know what that makes me think of?
What?
That makes me think of maybe an angel was there or something.
That's what my dad theorizes.
Just to check on you.
Yeah.
And it woke your dad up by accident. And then saw your dad and was like, okay, you take it from here. You got it, buddy.
Yeah.
Great job. You keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah, my dad thought it might have been an angel or something.
Yeah.
But
was it big?
It was regular person size.
Regular person size?
Yeah, and I think he said that he thought that that was a sign that like I was going to do great things in the world or something.
Wow.
Which is a very like cheesy dad thing to say,
Yeah.
but also very sweet.
I think you're doing great things. I keep saying this whenever you have a bad day, because, you know, you work in special ed and it's hard, you know. Every day that you have like a stressful day, I say that you're doing an amazing job and that you're an angel for helping all these people, you know.
Thanks, babe.
Because it takes so much.
Yeah.
So
I got a nod of approval from some mysterious silhouette figure as a baby.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, that's kind of spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that maybe... Oh, wow. Interesting. I wonder what the meaning of that is, though. I mean, we could hypothesize.
Oh, yeah. You can go over it for the rest of your life and not know what it means.
Yeah, like, it could just be, like, angels come by to check on babies, and it just happened that your dad woke up
Yeah.
and saw. Did you sleep through it?
Yeah, I was not awake.
Yeah, but then it could be that you were being blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Well, it's really interesting that it was a benevolent creature.
Yes.
Yeah, or benevolent spirit of some type. Interesting.
It's benevolent, but still spooky, you know?
Yeah, isn't it?
It's kind of a neat twist.
Yeah, to see shit that's, you know,
Yeah.
beyond this realm.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually kind of feeds nicely into a story that I'm going to share.
Go for it.
And this is a story that happened before I was born. Now, my mom and my dad had been trying to get pregnant for years, and they had not had any luck. And they had kind of said, well, you know, they didn't give up per se, but they were like, you know, if we can't have a baby, it's okay. We'll end up with more money and we can like go travel or something.
Right, yeah.
It'll be okay.
That's a good mindset to have.
Yeah, but they weren't like giving up. They were like, all right, if it happens, it happens.
Yes.
And if it doesn't, then hey, you know, there's a silver lining there.
Right.
My mom was 38, and she had a dream one night that a spirit came to her and asked if it could be born in her body. Mm-hmm. And in the dream, she said, yes, by all means. And apparently, after that dream, she took a pregnancy test and found out that she was pregnant with me.
That's wacky.
Yeah.
That's some biblical shit.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, you could see this as like, okay, well, like, maybe there were signs that she was pregnant, like maybe she was getting some morning sickness or something, and she just didn't put two and two together, and then she had this dream, and it was like...
That explained it to her,
Yeah. And it was like some subconscious level that she kind of already knew.
Right.
And so she had this dream. You can explain it away, you know?
Or alternatively,
Or alternatively...
it was an otherworldly spirit that took the form of you.
Yeah, and it was me.
Yeah.
Which, if this is, like, real, then that means that there is, like, some kind of life outside of this life.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. That I had a soul before I came into this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I like the idea of that, because I don't like the idea of things ending.
You know, I mean, we could talk about... I could have a discussion about, like, consciousness and souls and life beyond life for an entire episode. That might actually make a good episode. But I am of the belief that there are many, many forces of the universe that we don't even know exist at the moment. So, like, when stories like this come up, I'm, you know, a lot of people are skeptical of them and they try to explain it away, but I'm like, you know, you really can't know, and trying to explain it away is just as futile as like accepting that it could have been something from another world or another force that you don't understand.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
What difference does it make, you know?
Right. Yeah, like, why ruin it also,
Mm-hmm.
you know? It's a good story.
Yes.
Yeah. Even if it was just that my mom knew on some level that she might be pregnant. It's still a cool story.
My sister sees ghosts.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I had to call my stepmom, Corinne, before this episode to clarify some of the details, because I hadn't remembered all the details of the story. But ever since my little sister Tegan was quite young, she reported to us that she is able to see ghosts, which is really fucking wild.
Yeah.
But it's also believable, at least to Corinne, because apparently it runs in the family. Apparently her brother saw ghosts quite frequently as a child, and she has also seen a couple things in her time.
Wow.
That she can't explain. And Tegan has told us before that, like, she sees Corinne's late father sometimes in the middle of the night.
Wow.
And there was this one story that happened like a year or two ago, when we were all camping at Letchworth State Park, which was the first time that that Corinne, like, witnessed her seeing a ghost. And, like, you know, because children say shit, right?
Right.
And it's like, okay, yeah, you can, like, you can play along, whether you believe it or not. You can, like, support them in their, like, imaginative,
yeah,
like, endeavors. But this was the moment that she was like, oh wow, like, this is a real thing that's happening. So they were walking, I believe, from either, like, the gift shops or the bathrooms or some like external building to where our campsite was, but, like, on the campgrounds. Mm-hmm. And it was like a couple minutes walk from that place to our campsite. And it was around dusk time, so it was, like, just starting to get dark. And Corinne and Tegan were walking down the walkway, and Tegan looks over to the other side of the road, and gives a little wave and a smile. And there was nobody there when Corinne looked over to see who Tegan was waving at. Mm-hmm. And they walk on ahead, and Corinne, a few minutes later, was like, who were you waving to back there? And Tegan was like, oh, there was a little girl there. And there had been a woman, like, a little ways up the road. And Corinne was like, oh, the woman that was, like, up the road? And Tegan was like, no, I saw her too. But she was further away. I'm talking about, like, a little girl with long dark hair, who was staring at the ground. And when we passed her, she looked over and waved at me, so I waved back. And Corinne said that when they were walking, Tegan, like, looked back over her shoulder to, like, look at the figure again. And Tegan said that, like, at first I thought she was real. I actually messed up a detail here. After they had walked away, Tegan looked back and asked Corinne, is that person real?
Wow.
And Corinne was like, why you asked that? And she said, she looks a little shimmering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so spooky.
It is. It's really spooky. Yeah. But it's really cool.
Yeah. Because to her, it's probably, like, I mean, normal.
Yeah. I mean, like, probably still rare
to
see things like that. But, like, to have an ability like that where you can see things that others can't see.
Yeah. That's so spooky.
Yeah.
Wow. It sounds like... Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your family, I mean, that's Tegan.
Mm-hmm. And my dad.
And your dad. And
I have some
apparently
stories.
You got blessed by an angel.
So, yeah, Corinne shared some stories with me too while she was on the phone from her own experiences.
Well, how about we save those, because I would like to kind of go back and forth here if possible. I'm getting a little spooked, so I'm gonna share one that's it's not as scary.
You're getting spooked from our spooky story episode?
Yeah, I didn't think this through.
Oh, you have to stick it out now.
No, I will. I'm going to. I'm just gonna So I'm gonna tell one that's a little more tame.
Okay.
So all my life I have felt a really strong intuition.
Right.
About certain things. I can tell when my intuition is telling me something that is like almost predictive. And there have been a couple experiences that I know this is like so like kind of lame that I'm not going to share. But I've had a couple experiences where I've predicted certain big events in my life.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't feel comfortable talking about those events.
Yeah.
But that I've had dreams about prior to them happening. And whenever this happens, whenever I have one of these dreams where I have predicted something, I wake up and I know that it's clairvoyant.
That's wild.
Yeah. But sometimes I also get these really interesting intuitions for stuff that isn't as important. So sometimes when I am under the influence of alcohol, perhaps to a larger than moderate extent,
degree.
Yes, I will ask people who are around me, who I feel comfortable with, and who know that I do this, if they would like me to divine anything for them. And, you know, I do it partially because it's fun, and then partially because I want to flex, you know, but it's also kind of like a cool party trick. Well, it's not even a party trick at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, and if this is the only time that you have access to this ability, like, why not use it?
Yeah, and it's fun. People enjoy it. People enjoy it when you're drunk at a party and you walk up to them and you're like, hey, want me to divine something for you? It's interesting. It's fun. So Colin and I were having some drinks one night, and I got a little drunk, and I asked him, hey, do you want me to divine anything for you?
Yeah.
And he said, sure. Why don't you tell me what the next Smash character is going to be.
The next character that's going to be added to Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, that's going to be released. And I think you also asked me when it was going to be released.
Yeah. I was like... I asked you... Yeah, what character and when, I believe.
Yeah. And this was in the middle of the pandemic, I think.
It was...
Or maybe... I mean, the pandemic is ongoing. But
it was late 2020.
It was late 2020.
It was Q4 2020.
So you knew that there was going to be a Smash character coming out soon.
Yeah.
And I remember asking you, I was like, well, how often do the Smash characters come out? And you were like, well, it depends, but it's going to be probably like anytime within the next, what was it, like 1 month to like 6 months from now.
Yes.
And I told you, without skipping a beat, I was like, the character is going to be released within 2 days of this specific date. I think it was like February
12th, I believe.
February 12th. And it ended up happening later that year. The Smash character ended up being released.
On that exact date.
On that exact day.
Yep.
And you were like... I mean, I think you were more interested in the Smash character getting released, but I remember you were like... oh my gosh, like the Smash character is getting released, and then you were like, wait, and you looked back because you had kept a note of everything that I told you about what this Smash character was going to be.
Yeah,
I was totally wrong about what the Smash character...
Well, no, you actually had predicted a couple details.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, because we bet sushi on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it was like if I got...
At least like 3 details
If I got 3 details right, you would buy me sushi, and you did buy me sushi. Yeah, so I got some details about what the character looked like what kind of weapon they had, what their fighting style was. I got that right. And then the date, I predicted the exact date. And this was like...
Months in advance.
Months in advance. And the information that I had to go on was that it was going to be sometime within the next 6 months.
Yeah, and you can call coincidence or whatever, right? But when you have a specific ability to divine things, right? And you're like, hey, I'm gonna do this for you this one time,
Yeah.
and I'm specifically saying right now that I have this divination ability, and you give the exact date, it's like, well, it's hard to believe there's not something more going on there.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not sure what to believe when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I going to continue to go around at parties when I get drunk and ask if people would like me to divine something for them? Yes. Will I ever know for certain if that's what I'm doing? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But have there been some spooky coincidences like that? Yes.
Yep.
Many times.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that the reason why that instance is so, I think, shocking is because it involved a specific
Date.
piece of information, which was the date.
Yep.
Yeah. Usually people are like, oh, am I gonna like get back with my boyfriend or girlfriend, or like what does this year have in store for me?
Right.
People like this question on New Year's a lot. So it's like a lot of vague stuff, you know?
Yep.
But that was specific, and I still got it right.
Yeah.
People have also told me, there's a couple people who won't let me read tarot cards for them anymore, because my poor friend, I once read her tarot, and it was on New Year's, and I was in this divination state, I guess, where I like was conscious of the fact that I felt like I was able to be a little more clairvoyant, I guess. And everything about her year, it, like, according to the cards, was going to go horribly. And I was honest with her about it. I was like, listen, like, this is what it looks like. And then everything that we talked about came true that year. And now she won't let me read her cards anymore, because she's like, if bad things are going to happen to me, I don't want to know.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And you were like, oh, this is going to be a real bad year for you, right?
Yeah. And specific, like, events. Like, breakups.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did she initially respond to that?
Well, I think, as most people initially respond, is like, is exactly how she responded, is like they're like, oh yeah, sure, like divine something for me, like haha, it'll be funny.
Right, yeah.
And her initial reaction was like, oh my gosh, like this is so, it sounds like it's gonna be so horrible, like haha. But then as she went throughout her year and like thought about what I had told her was gonna happen, she was like, oh my god.
That's a mind fuck.
Yeah. And I wasn't gonna sit there and like tell her to not laugh about it, you know? Because who am I to tell somebody that they should perceive something in any certain way?
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
Wow.
So that one is a little more lighthearted, is that sometimes, and to be honest, with the exception of like me dreaming about stuff, the dreams are always about intense stuff, which is why I don't really want to talk about them. But when I get drunk and I'm like, let me divine something for you, it's always about the most useless information.
Right.
Like, I mean, I guess knowing the date of the Smash character getting released is not it's not entirely useless.
It's pretty inconsequential.
But it's inconsequential. It's like, what are you going to use that for? I guess you could bet on it, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have divination powers, and you're born of a stray spirit that
maybe
asked your mother to birth it.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm a little spooky. As I like to tell people, I think that I might be a little psychic.
I might be a little spooky.
Just a little. Okay, now that we've done that lighthearted one, or maybe that isn't as lighthearted as
far as spooky stories go, I think
it's pretty lighthearted. Now we can get back and do a more spooky one.
Yeah, this one's pretty spooky. This is about me and my dad again. And I was like, I think I was like 6 to 8 years old or something like that. And my dad and I were driving back home. I think we were the only ones in the car. We were driving back home from something very late at night. I forget what it was, but I think we were coming back from like a trip of a few days. And we had just come home that day. And we didn't get home till like the middle of the night. And I had fallen asleep in the backseat of the car for a while. And we pulled into the driveway. And my dad like went to wake me up and be like, Colin, we're home.
Uh-huh.
And I don't have any memory of this, but this is from my dad's retelling to me of this story the next day. Apparently when I woke up, I had like a blank look on my face, and I said the creepiest shit in the world. I said, "Where are the guns?" My dad said, "What?" And I said, "The paintings were in so many colors, but where are the guns?"
Oh my gosh. That's really spooky.
Yeah. I have no memory of it either.
Did you know what a gun was? Were you old enough?
Yeah, I knew what
Yeah.
a gun was.
Well. What? First of all, that's spooky.
Yeah.
Second of all, what the heck does that mean?
It's cryptic as hell, yeah.
Yeah. The paintings were in so many colors, but where are the guns? Ugh, even just saying that, it feels so scary.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's real weird.
Wow.
Yeah. I wonder if my dad even remembers that at this point. But I remember him, like, talking to me about it the next day, and I was like, I said that? What the heck?
Yeah. Well, again, if you want to explain this away logically, it could have been that you had a dream and that you were sleep talking or something that.
I think that it was, like, had something to do with what I was dreaming about.
Yeah, but
what
still...
what could I have been dreaming about?
What dream were you having? Yeah, that's
I
terrifying.
couldn't even imagine a dream that I would be having to make me say something as cryptic as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird.
I don't even want to think about that. That's just too creepy.
It's spooky. That's the reason we're doing this.
Yeah.
It's all spooky times.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's so to tone down the spook a little bit, let's just pretend that you were having a dream about a birthday party and everybody was playing with water guns and everybody also did like a little painting and it was like birthday activities.
Right, yeah.
And you got a chance to do the painting, but you didn't get a chance to play with the water gun.
That's probably
And
it.
you were like, there's paintings with a lot of colors here, but where are the guns?
Yeah, great coping mechanism, babe.
Thanks, I'm doing it. You didn't think this through. I get so spooked by stories like this.
Is it bad to say I kind of saw this coming?
No. You know me. Okay.
You have a story about a dream?
I do have a story about a dream, and this is actually... It's I would say on the scale of 1 to very creepy, it's about like a 7. Maybe a 6 or a 7.
It's 6 or 7 haunted.
Yes. So, and this is really recent. I had a dream recently, and this is how the dream went. I was with, I believe, Colin, and I was in a spooky store. So you probably know what I'm, like a spooky, like kind of spiritual store. And there was a man and a woman in the store. And I was sitting down with the man and the woman. And they were going to do some divination for me. And I think I thought that they were just going to be reading some tarot cards or something like that. But they lit a candle and they asked me to make the Om noise into the candle, like while looking at the candle and speaking to it. And like the Om noise that you would make like while you're meditating.
Yes.
And so I started doing this in the dream. And at this point, the lady was sitting across from me at a table, and the man had come around and was holding me like by my shoulders, and I knew that he was restraining me. And I wasn't uncomfortable with it. I knew that he was restraining me so that whatever happened, that I wasn't gonna start thrashing and like hurting people.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I knew this in the dream. So I'm looking at the candle, I start making the Om noise into the candle. And as I'm doing this, my vision within the dream starts to turn into fractals, so that eventually, my entire field of vision is just fractals. And the Om noise that I'm making stops being from me. It was almost like ego death, because I knew that like the noise was coming from me,
Right.
but it wasn't from me.
It wasn't from your will.
It wasn't from my will. It was just
You were not
there.
willing yourself
Right,
to make
exactly.
the noise.
And as these fractals filled my vision, and by fractals I mean the kind of fractals that you see like when you're tripping. I personally have never tripped, but what I was seeing was akin to a visual representation of
Yeah.
what I have seen that other people who have like tripped have like drawn as like this is what it looks like. As this was happening, I was moving forward. I was like moving forward, and
Yeah.
the fractals were like almost cascading
Yep.
around me, and the noise that quote unquote like I was making was getting louder and
Yep.
louder. And eventually I came upon this gold fractal, and I was afraid of the gold fractal. And I knew that my going through this fractal was a test of will, and that I had to prove my faith in capital G God. And so I prayed through it, going through this fractal. I thought to myself, like, I believe in God. I think I was like repeating some of the Lord's Prayer as I was going through. And the noise, the Om noise, got like so loud. It was like ear shattering.
Oh my God.
And I was moving through this fractal, but I was like, I know I just need to hold on. And I eventually moved through it, and my vision returned to normal. The fractals ended, and I was back in this scene with this man and this woman in this spiritual shop. And they said, yeah, you should be fine. And they then wanted to start doing this divination that they had originally set out to do, like reading tarot cards or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I was like sitting there like, I need a moment to process what just happened. And then I woke up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's probably the most intense dream I've ever heard of.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I forgot one detail. I knew that the gold fractal was evil. Like, I knew that it was evil embodied. And that's why I was afraid. It was, like, very religious.
Oh my
It was
God.
very, like, religious in a Christian
That's
way.
spiritual as hell.
Yeah. But I held on.
How do you like wake up from a dream like that and then just go about your day as normal? Like, isn't that the weirdest thing to do?
Well, yeah, it was really weird, but I also didn't really have time to do anything about it because
I know.
have so much
'Cause
work
you just
to do.
have to like just shake it off and be like,
Yeah.
okay, I gotta go make breakfast. I gotta
Yeah.
go like do my laundry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah, it was really intense. Even talking about it, I'm a little, like, shaken up. Because it was just so intense. And, like, it was, like... In the moment where the fractals were occupying my whole vision, I, like, knew that it was a spiritual experience. And
Yeah.
I, like, knew that it was, like, you are being tested.
Yeah.
Like, you have to, like, show your faith in God. And I was like, well, okay, like, I have faith in God. So I just held on to that.
Right.
And it, like, got me through it.
Yeah, I personally have never taken psychedelic drugs.
Me neither.
But what you're describing sounds like eerily similar to what other people describe.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
With like to be like what their experiences are with psychedelic drugs.
Yeah.
Like I know I've mentioned to you a bunch of times, but Vsauce. Vsauce's YouTube Red series, Mindfield, there's an episode where Michael Stevens, the host, takes ayahuasca, which is like an ancient like psychedelic drug that people have used for like spiritual growth for centuries, or even millennia, I think.
Is ayahuasca illegal?
It's illegal
US?
in the US, yeah.
Yeah.
But they weren't in the US, so
Right.
they
Right,
went
of course, yeah.
to a different country.
Yeah.
And he describes like the whole experience, and it like it matches up so well with what you're talking about. Like there are, he moves outside of his body. He describes feeling himself move outside of his body, and then he feels shapes, or he starts to experience shapes in his field of vision, different colored shapes, and then they're cascading around him. He's moving forward.
Yeah.
And then...
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's really spooky.
It's very similar to what...
See, okay, can I add something here?
Yeah.
So, I've seen my fair share of writings and videos about what it's like to take psychedelics.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of me is like, well, maybe I, made this dream out of, based on what I know about what the psychedelic experience is like.
Right.
But I didn't know that you move through them.
Well, I don't know if that's what happens for everybody.
Interesting.
But
I've never heard of that happening to anybody else, but it happened to me in my dream.
Yeah.
Which means that I didn't just pull that from somewhere that I saw it, unless I'm doing that unconsciously.
No, I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. That's making me even spooked out.
I don't know if
Even
that's,
more spooked?
what the experience is like for everybody, but it's like a drug is not going to make your brain do anything it can't already do. It only alters the different things that your brain, it doesn't give your brain any new ability to make anything new that it couldn't before. It just inhibits and activates certain parts of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your brain is always capable of doing whatever you experience while you're on a drug.
Yeah.
It just makes it more probable that will happen. But the fact that you experience something that intense through something like a dream, that is, we don't really even know so much about dreams.
No.
In terms of science and neuroscience and psychology, but they appear to be so random, so unpredictable. Mm. And then for that to have such apparent meaning, mm-hmm. and so much spiritual significance, and you're obviously not the first one to have such an intense, meaningful dream.
Right.
There have been many before you that have had those kinds of dreams.
Yes, I actually
it
looked it up.
always blows my mind when somebody describes a dream to me like that. That is so intense.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff.
Yeah, it was really cool. And when I woke up, I immediately went on Google and I was like, is dreaming in fractals normal? Answer, it's not common, but it has happened to people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, even people who haven't tried psychedelics.
I think especially if you have a mathematically inclined mind.
Yeah.
Which I know that you do.
I do.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Well,
out of curiosity, were there any other similarities between Michael's experiences that made you think of that, besides the moving through fractals? I'm just curious.
There was elements of it being a test for him.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Like a challenge, a test where he needed to prove himself.
Yeah.
He also had feelings of that.
Yeah. Did he have something that he held on to? Get through it?
What he describes is he held on to the fact that he's doing this, for science and for the show and for the people around him. And he pulled through because of that. Yeah. That motivated him.
That's still, yeah. I mean, we can talk about, and we did talk about this a little bit in our episode, spirituality, science, philosophy, and hope. Mm-hmm. But I think, as grounded as science is, it still takes a certain amount of faith.
Oh yeah.
To have faith in knowledge,
Yes.
in the scientific process. And it's interesting that came out in a spiritual context for him.
Yep.
I find that holistically unsurprising, considering it's Michael from Vsauce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow, I didn't actually realize the extent to which my experience mirrored that.
Yeah, you should absolutely watch that episode.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I usually don't like to watch things like that because they freak me out.
I know, but I think you just find it really cool, even if it does freak you out a little bit.
Yeah.
Much is the point of why we tell spooky stories and stuff like this, because it obviously freaks us out.
Yeah, but we like it.
Mm-hmm.
We like it, and we think it's like interesting. And
Yeah.
there's something really sating
Yeah.
about spooky things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're thirsty for them.
Mm-hmm.
We're curious.
We want things that we don't understand.
Yeah, I think that's very human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and share another story with us?
All right. I have a couple more. I have like 2 more. This was one that Corinne shared with me earlier today when she was on the phone with me. So it's not mine directly, but shout out Corinne for giving me this story to share on the podcast.
Ooh. Thanks, Corinne.
When she was a kid, she was at a sleepover. This one's really spooky.
Oh, okay, let me put my blanket on. The blanket will protect me. It's okay. After this, I'll just go put cartoons on both of our TVs, turn all the lights on, and it'll be fine.
She was at a sleepover when she was a kid, and they were having fun. She told me that they were like wrapping themselves up in their sleeping bags and like going feet first down the stairs.
Oh my god.
like little torpedoes.
That sounds like so much fun for if you were 7.
Yeah. And excuse me if I get any of these details wrong, Corinne, but apparently, like, when they got to the top of the stairs, one of these times that they were going down the stairs, all of them at once, not just one kid, all of the kids at once saw a man walk out of one of the closets. And the man was dressed as a police officer.
Oh my god.
And he just walked out of one of the closets and like into another room. They only saw him for a second, but it was a stranger. So all of them screamed. And like Corinne apparently like fell down and like hit her face and like lost a tooth or something.
Oh my gosh.
They like screamed and like ran away.
Well, understandably. Yeah.
And then apparently like a few minutes later, one of Corinne's friends that was at the sleepover got a call that one of their relatives was killed in action, and he was a police officer.
Oh my gosh. That is insane.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I may have botched a couple of minor details there, but
well, I
got the point across.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't even fathom that one.
Yeah, that is too many coincidences to not. I would have a really hard time explaining that.
And you can try, right? Like maybe one kid saw something by mistake, and then the other kids just reacted to the one kid seeing something else.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's real tough to try to explain that one away.
Yeah. Wow. And I have some other experiences which I don't really want to get into, where I've experienced that people who have recently passed seem to do a thing where they kind of go make their rounds.
Yes.
And this sounds reminiscent of that, where when somebody passes, and it's not always like they're communicating directly to you, but I've heard stories and I've experienced things, and that people who've recently passed will kind of go move through the spaces where their dear ones are before moving on.
I mean, I know this spooks you a little bit, but my grandmother passed away a couple months ago.
Yeah. And
I did feel her. Yeah. Like I had the feeling of somebody standing behind you.
Yeah.
Like you don't see them or hear them, but
Yeah.
you know there's someone behind you.
Yeah.
And I felt that for a brief moment.
Yeah.
Just once.
And you know what was really creepy about this? I didn't want to bring this up because I think it's your story to tell because
Yeah.
she was your grandmother. But when she passed, I remember I obviously wanted to comfort you, but I remember you almost said something. You were like, I don't want to scare you, but like, I think she's like here. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but I cannot talk about this because I get really, if it's like, even just talking about this stuff gets me like very on edge, and it makes it difficult for me to function sometimes. But if I get the sense that there's something that I do not understand that is in my home, it can really like just I have a really hard time coping with that.
Because your home is your safe place.
Exactly. Like, I'll get into this a little bit later, but I told you, I was like, I'm here for you in any other way. I just cannot talk about the idea that she's here, you know? And after some time had passed, I think it was a couple days, I went to you about this and I was like, I'm sorry that I couldn't, like, talk to you about that.
And I understand. I understood.
Exactly. But I told you, I was like, I felt her here. I felt her standing behind you and putting her hand gently on your shoulder. And I was like, I knew that that is what she was doing. And I felt it so strongly and I could not handle it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I couldn't talk about it. And then you told me that's also what you felt.
Yeah, no, and I felt that the hand on the shoulder and like a friendly presence like behind me.
Yeah. And
I knew in my mind that it was her.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think to me, I did not feel the friendliness from her.
Because you hadn't met her.
But yeah, because I hadn't met her, I didn't know her. The energy that I got from her, for me, was like completely neutral. It was very like, as long as you're making Colin happy, cool.
Yeah.
You know? And that was that. And I think to me, it was like, okay, well, you're still in my house. Like, like yeah. Spooky.
I mean, that's understandable.
Yeah.
And it was pretty moving to me too, because like that was really the first, this has been really been the first time that I've lost someone that close to me. So yeah, it was intense. Are there any more stories that you want to share?
Well, there's none in particular that I feel like I really want to share. I have a short one that I think would be kind of nice and like more maybe a lighthearted note to end on.
Well, I also have one more, I think.
Okay, well...
It's kind of sad.
Okay. Maybe we should do your sad one first, then.
Okay.
Because mine is a little more lighthearted.
Yeah, sure. I also talked to my... to Corinne about this one when we talked earlier on the phone. But this was one that we were both there for. We had been camping up near Watkins Glen, me and my family, and we were all hiking on some trail, and, you know, it was like a beautiful, like, mountain trail, and we eventually, like, there was a fork in the road, and it broke off into this small pathway that led to a big clearing that was some sort of graveyard. It looked like a very old graveyard. And I think it might have been like a property once. But it was a graveyard, and there was graves of like a whole family there. This looks like it's making you sad already.
Yeah.
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 Stepping into that graveyard was like stepping in to like an entire different world. Because you know how like you have, you know the feeling when you're out in nature and you're hiking and you have like this the ambient noise around you.
Yeah.
Like the birds and the bugs and just like the wind rustling through the trees. It was like all that became muted.
Wow.
And we all, me and Corinne especially, but like everybody felt this like same sort of feeling, and we just got like the overwhelming sense that like tragedy had occurred here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
Uh-huh. And I think we looked, I don't remember, but I think we looked up, like, Watkins Glen, like, hiking trail graveyard or something, like, later that we, like, found out that a family, like, had died of, like, some sort of tragedy, like, plague or, like, just, like, sudden event.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
It was just, like, it was so surreal just being in that space. And it was, like, a world apart, stepping into the graveyard from the woods and then back out.
Yeah.
Because we were all in, like, high spirits that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Just an immediate shift.
Yeah. Wow.
It's wild how a space does that to you sometimes.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow, that's sad.
Yeah. I'm sorry to bum you out with that one.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Wow, mine is lighthearted, but it's so small I don't know how to follow that.
Well, please share it, because I would love to end on a note that is not as sad.
Okay.
You'd be doing us all a service.
All right. I'll do my best. So, growing up, I had a cat named Maxine.
Mm-hmm.
And we had her until I was about 6.
Yeah.
And she was an indoor-outdoor cat. So she was allowed to go outside.
Yeah.
And to get in or out of the house, she would just meow. I don't think we had a cat door. No, we did not have a cat door going in and out of the house. So when she wanted to come in and out, she would just have to meow.
Right.
And I have a distinct, clear memory of Maxine and I were both on my family's front porch. Mm-hmm. And she meowed to get inside. And so I opened the door for her. And it was just a screen door. And the main, like, glass panel was open. So I opened the screen door so she could go through. And she turned over, like, looked over at me, like, over her shoulder, and said, "Thank you." And I looked at my mom, who was right in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. The door went into the kitchen. And I looked at my mom and I was like, "Oh my God, like, did you just hear Maxine's, like, talk?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "No, she just meowed." And I was like, "No, I opened the door for her and she said, 'Thank you.'" She looked at me and said, "Thank you."
That's so amazing.
And I was like, my mom was like, "No, maybe she meowed and you heard her say thank you." And I'm like, "No, she said thank you." Like, I was old enough to understand, kind of, like, you know, you develop an imagination and then you develop, like, an ability to distinguish between imagination and reality. I was at a point where I could say, no, like, I realize that you think that I'm just being a kid and imagining this, but she said thank you to me. And I heard her. And I was like, wow. And I kind of thought to myself as a kid, I was like, I wonder if she's just talking to me because I'm a kid. And she knows that she can get away with it with me.
I love the idea of, like, your cat being actually able to talk, but, like, talking to you that one time and be like, nobody will ever believe you. Like, go try to tell other people that I said thank you.
Well, and again, we can explain it away. Maybe she just meowed in a way that made it sound like she was saying thank you. Right, exactly. Yeah, but it was like the way that she was, like, asking to get in. I opened the door for her. She starts to go in, pauses, turns around, looks at me, right? Mm-hmm. Like, as she says this. Yeah. Yeah. Or as she articulates
it's very, very person-like
behavior. Yeah.
That's the whole point. Like, yeah, sure. You can try to explain it away, but you can never know for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whoa,
spooky. Okay, I need to go watch some calming cartoons now because I'm scared.
Then we have done our job.
Oh, good. I hope that this episode has been as frightening for you as it has been for me.
Have a lovely Halloween. I think we are doing one more episode before Halloween.
Yeah.
If the time is right, if the schedule is
permitting,
is on the regular time that it usually is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do another Halloween episode.
Yeah, maybe.
Let us know in the comments if you want that. Otherwise, we'll just do whatever we want.
We'll probably just do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Whatever we want could well be another Halloween episode, because we freaking love Halloween.
We do love Halloween. Maybe we can have a less spooky Halloween episode.
Maybe we could do what we did with the French fries, but with different kinds of chocolate. I really like chocolate.
That sounds really good. We could review candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an idea. No promises.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We don't want this becoming a food review podcast.
Or do we? Dun dun dun. And on that note.
Bye.
Bye-bye.